Okay, so we're sitting on day two. I got up this morning, looked around for a bit. Really, I was up a lot of the night because it was so windy. It was shaking my tent. That made it really hard to sleep because I really was concerned about bears in ways that I haven't been concerned about bears in other places. I don't know why. I've been to lots of other bear country, bear type places. Even found tracks near camp and things, and was still more worried about bears last night. Uh, Probably just one of those things. Emotionally, however you're feeling, and then it just makes you feel a certain way or think about something. That's what was kind of distracting me from being able to just sleep on through the night. The tent has had a steady wind coming up against it from the south here. It's just been pushing southeast. Yeah, southeast, because that is straight north from me. So it's kind of been coming like this across, and you can see the tent is just pressed up against. I don't have enough of the cable and things to be able to gig that out the way that I want to. And I know my son would be really upset about that. He'd be like, we need to gig it all out. I know, man. You're right. You get this one, touche. So regardless, though, if I had it gigged out or not, it would just basically still be having that wind blowing against it. Still uh, would have been keeping me up last night because the sound of a bear in camp versus the sound of this thing flapping along probably sounded about the same to me last night when I was trying to sleep. So I got up early this morning and looked around. It was still pretty dark when I first started looking around, so obviously I didn't see anything. And I wasn't really hungry. I think nerves and whatever else were kind of getting to me a little bit. But since then, I went back to bed, got a little bit more rest, kind of sat there and thought about what all I needed to get done today. And what I need to do is make a list of all the things that I want to get done in the next couple of days that aren't necessarily directly related to hunting. The biggest thing that's on my mind right now is being able to filter water. Right now, I'm down to 1 gallon of water, which, I mean, frankly, I would need 1 gallon of water just to get out of here if it was going to be an all day venture on the water in the sun like it was for me on the way up. I drank a ton of water, and I was like, man, this is more water than I normally drink. I'm normally pretty thrifty about the water intake that I consume, that I have while I'm out doing these kinds of adventures. Um, but you really shouldn't. What's the word? Ration your water intake. If you're thirsty, you should drink water. So that's not to say that I like ration my water and so much that I'm sitting around thirsty and spitting and things like that. But it's a matter of I'm not just drinking water like and constantly peeing sort of situation. Like if you're at home and you're like trying to get this gallon in, like I'm not doing anything like that. Really, you should drink water when you're thirsty, and sometimes if you're craving sweets, then that's just another way that you're actually just thirsty. So, just FYI, if you're ever like, man, I really could go for an ice cream right now, try drinking a glass of water first, then get your ice cream, and know it's because you want ice cream, not because you're thirsty. Uh, Never going to discourage somebody from getting ice cream, but also you should get the water intake that you need. That's an important thing to keep track of here, or when you're out doing things like that, because water is extremely important. Dehydration can absolutely debilitate you. So that's why it's such a concern of mine. So what I thought was the Yukon itself, because it's moving so much, it's very murky and everything else. And I was thinking about this from the last video. I said it was like the Kenai. Now, parts of the Kenai are very clear and very clean, or even blue. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous river. But down where we would dip net at the mouth, that's where it gets really murky and sandy and everything else. So I wanted to be like, okay, look, I know what the Kenai looks like. For anybody that was like, oh, that's not what the Kenai is, real clear and blue. Okay, Please calm down. I meant one specific part in my haste. So what I've done is I was like, what if it had some time to just set? Would it be so murky then? And then would it be a little bit easier on my filter to be able to filter the water? So what I did was I have these 2 buckets of food. One of them that's just full of freeze-dried meals, and the other one that had uh, oatmeals, little instant oatmeal packs, and some protein bars, things like that. And so I emptied one of those out into my bear food storage. It sounds like I'm trying to feed the bear. It's to keep the bear away from camp if he does decide to come look for food, which is there. And hopefully that gives me enough time that I can, unzip the tent a little bit, tell him to get lost. So I scooped up a bunch. This is not good. I scooped up a bunch of water about an hour ago, 45 minutes, and I put it in this bucket, trying to, I'll show you this, trying to, there we go, trying to get the water time to settle, and it's still really, really murky in there. I was hoping that it would, some of the sediment and things would kind of sink to the bottom, dirt and everything else. So that's a concern. I know that the Grail water filter that I have, it's meant to be able to filter so much out of it. And they said, like, look, if you're going to use it on salt water, that thing's going to be cooked real quick. So it was one of those situations where the cleaner the water that you're filtering, the longer the filter is going to last. I've kind of been using that filter for a bit. And I have more, a bigger Grail and more filters in the mail. It doesn't do me good on this trip, but it just, like I have thought about it. I will be replacing those, filters and everything. I'm not trying to use that one till it dies, especially if it's going to die on a trip. So, yeah, that's my big concern, was just filtering water. So far, not great. I didn't really see any springs or streams on the way up here. I guess there are more much further down or further upriver, and I will not be able to make it that far, which is kind of a problem. I guess I could have brought, just kind of, working through the planning on the next trip, I could have brought more fuel and probably less supplies. There are cabins and things that are actually pretty well stocked from everything that I heard, with firewood and propane and all these sorts of things, and little bunk beds, all this sort of stuff, if you can get down far enough, which I only made it a little bit more than a third of the way towards those. So I would have needed a lot more gas. I probably would have needed probably 30 gallons of gas just to get up there, and then another 10 to get back, with the way that the currents are. That's a lot of gasoline for my raft, for Ducky to be able to haul. Another observation, just real quick, I'm on a part of the Yukon that I believe, obviously this is mapped as part of the Yukon, and that is actually mapped on Onyx and Google Earth and everything else as an island, but everything is connected here all the way. There's some water over there if I go far enough, and there's a stream that connects to a bit of it, but even then, what I'm standing in right now, this was all water yesterday, because I could not have been able to pull up Ducky this far. And you can even see some evidence here that this part of the rope curves up because it was actually flowing in the Yukon yesterday. So I can, one thing I need to keep in mind is that if it's a dry, hot day or a couple of days, I could see a drastic drop in my water levels, and the same thing would probably happen if it rains a lot. So this whole episode was basically just about water and its importance, and I don't know if we want to call it an episode. It sounds really weird. if I want to call it like an entry, like if it's a vlog. But this whole video was just about water. Really, kind of went that way. Talk about the morning a bit too. But yeah, so my focus is going to be to try and filter water and see what that looks like, because this will be a very short trip if I'm not able to filter the water that I want to filter. Now, some of you might ask, like, well, why didn't you just take enough water? Well, water is heavy. At about 8 pounds a gallon, if I had taken enough water for 2 weeks, I mean, I would have taken well over 100 pounds just in water, and that's a lot, especially considering all the other gear that I had and gasoline. And this was a first time out. I wasn't sure if I was even able to get up the river at all, and in Ducky. I mean, it was like, I don't know. Well, let's see what I can do. It could have been a very short trip just in the first 2 miles. So yeah, I'm going to try and filter water. I was hoping that the sediment would work out a little bit better, that it would calm down if it's not moving and bubbling in the Yukon itself. Maybe it wouldn't be so murky. No, it's just really murky, man. So I'm going to try and filter that. I'm going to try not to sunburn, because the forecast said that it was going to rain. And it like I said in the last video, there were only like 12 drops, of water all day long yesterday. It was very sunny, clear. Last night it was cloudy for a bit, but I mean, it wasn't anything that I couldn't just put on a jacket. And I was actually sweating when I was out kind of doing my evening walk around this dried out part of the Yukon. So I don't know. I'm gonna filter water. I'm gonna look around, and I'm gonna make a list of things that I need to do. I know I have a list of things that I'm like want to improve around camp and get a little bit better. Some organizational things that I want to take care of. I mean, even on my list might be to be pulling Ducky further down into the water, because at a certain point it's going to be really heavy for me to move, and I don't want to damage the bottom of Ducky trying to scrape it out into the water. So I mean, that might be on my list of things that I want to get done. Which might not sound like oh, that's a 2-minute ordeal. No, not really, because I got to get my waders on and got to get out there and make sure I don't sink in the mud. I can't stand in one spot for very long, because you'll start to get stuck. There's nobody out here to rescue me. So there's some planning and things that have to go into it when you have to take extra precautions for every step, because you're all alone. But anyway, I want everybody to wish me luck. I'm going to find some way to not sunburn, and to filter water, do some improvements around camp, make a list of things I need to get done, and try and still have time to spend some time glassing around or hunting. Where I might go next. I might just go right over there and just see how much Alaska there is over there. All right, everybody. Wish me luck.